Yadgar back, desiring not to marry in the lawful manner ordained by Allah. Samchari khatuna na diga ki the mutabik shari wa qanuni ki rafta changa gainul lim shawdini mizam shawdu zuishi. Chapter 11. The Mountain Lake. Bandi Koistani, Khoja Nasreddin asked about it from everyone at the bazaar. Bazaar kas pursan kat ki bhai hum Koistani jeel rishmo de. Farmers, itinerant artisans, as Kistkara pursan ka, as Ustayo pursan ka, jesters, Latifagoya pursan ka, then jugglers, but in vain. Nobody knows. No one had ever heard of such a lake. Where could it have got to? Thought Khoja Nasreddin. Happily, the old mendicant owned it in some early incarnation. Al fikr na magaw baba fakir kesta bakhal in the pasna yago janam ho sahib yazib jil buda mara alkam late gufta desi janam. Somewhere upon Jupiter or Saturn, and his memory now failing him in his old age. Alas khatir memory loss azu wo khayal karte ki enemy generation halanki pasna incarnation bila. He has muddled it up, yani mix up kada, and sends me to search for it upon the earth. Ala bil rui zamin magar bor tur paida ko halanki jilezu shayad dabali marikh ya dabari mushtari basha. The other matter respecting the propitiation of Turakhon likewise caused him to little perplexity of mind. As Hawali Turakhon become confuser. Only a week remains until the festival. Yag after the Jashan Manda, the festival Manda, he reflected, I need money. Not less than 6,000, but where am I to get it? He was obliged to turn to the one-eyed thief for advice, without, of course, disclosing the reason for which he needed the money. In former times, the Guzashta Zamana, it would have been the easiest thing for me to procure 6,000 tangas in Kokan. The Zamana Guzashtish bilkul Moravtum Ninale 6,000 girta rejoined the thief. Now the people of Kokan are all impoverished. As Gushnagi Mumra Drawi Mardumi Kokan, they cheese nadra mazna chidizigran. And seldom will you find a man with such a weighty purse upon him. Shaz nadir agar tu 1 rupee de go nafar bingar ni kidaro khot mobra ki ma unji safai kinam, unless it be the money changer. Agar ana غير ذيك money changer diga koi kas nahi de duniya ki 1 rupee deshta basha. Again you are in the thrall of sinful thoughts. Baz gunalud khayalat tur girifta. Khoja Nasreddin said in a tone of rebuke, must you necessarily steal? Is there no other way? Winning at dice, you may chance to be the loser. We must choose a winning game. A thought, a half-formed but pregnant, with fruitful seeds. There's got khayal asta, lekin bisar potential tha, maneshi bisar imkhana tha, flashed across Khoja Nasreddin's mind. There's got khayal. A game for 3. A game bazi ki nahi I, you, and that fat, perfidious money changer. But how can we entice him into our game? چطور بایری دم نزدیکیم؟ سه نفر بازینی ما و تو میشی و money changer میشه. مگر چی خمور دزی؟ invite کنی شامل کنی. The fat money changer, that fleecer of widows and orphans, exclaimed the one-eyed, entice him into our game. It were easier to entice this pole or that camel yonder. خوگرمگی. تو این درخت میتونی که گیم شامل کنی و اینوایت کنی شاید بایا مگر روک جامعه چیز گیم است. It would be best to get the money from him of all men. Khoja Nasreddin proceeded, warming to the idea. از گیر زوخ ما تمام رو پیر کنده میتونی به این رقم. Voluntarily, of course, entirely of his own free will. वो तमाम पैसा میدیا و از مرزیخ میدیا. It would be exceedingly beneficent to the money changer too. وही the फायदे जो मस्ता. In respect to his passing into the higher existence. क्यों कम खाली करने जेब में कम बाल बोरा ना value से बाल बोरा. At the close of his earthly career. आदिका खराई उम्र से एक नेकी मुश्किल बरिश. To get that bloodsucker to part voluntarily with 6,000 tangas. وخونشنا تومجي أزجير زوما درزاي خوشر زر خدت يعني تشتور. علي one-eyed parishana way. Laughed the one-eyed. Why? His earthly career would end at the first 100. فتم صدم كجيب زبورشنا وندمش بورمشة. Earthly career ختم. Look, you, how he clutches his bag. There is no snatching it away. تشتور ديمو خلتيش ديش مزبوط قرفته. This conversation took place in the Chaikhana. At a late hour. On the threshold of midnight. The city was asleep. The bazaar lights had been extinguished and only the pitch fires on the watchtowers were burning. تمام خاموشية فقط دمواتي شولي بلسارية منارة كي محافظة ولانية وانا داغا ديگا تماچيس تاريكية. A young moon hung forlorn over the minarets. मालूम है बलिसारी मीनारा एक ताज़ा माताबी बुर्शदा, silvering their tiled caps with an icy light. It was cool and quiet. Summer ruled the day with its stifling heat. ताबिस्तान अवस्था रोज वक्त रोज खेली गर्मियाँ. And dust, but the winged nights with their lustrous haze. And the mysterious freshness of the starry wind were still of the spring. लेकिन शौक़ मशहूर बाद बहारी बनी. The one-eyed thief crawled under his blanket. कंबल दरमाया and had begun to snore while Khoja Nasreddin lay with open eyes. While spellbound by the magic of the blue mist which had descended upon the earth from mysterious spheres, laden with the dim visions of a remote world. The beat of drums heralding midnight called Khoja Nasreddin to earthly matters, to the fat merchant and his leathern money bag. باز نیست بشاو یدول نیست بشاو که یک دفعه بجاو شد بازی پس از خیالات پس روی زمین آمد به روی دوباره منی چینجر رو امو حالتیز بود. By an effort of will, he shook off the sweet torpor of abstraction. از خیالات بور شد گفت search, reason search, عقل رو مگا پیدا کن نگرا قد خود گفتره. The money changer must give 6,000 dollars. He who confirm. Target and me, and he shall give them of his own free will, for so I have planned, and so it will be. 6,000 وددنية از مرزيق ددنية إني برنامج ما وين ميكارم مكنا. Meanwhile, the unsuspecting money changer the shortage ne dedi kalata ne ki inji cheez qissa da guzara sada. Troubled by no premonitions of coming ills, was whistling peacefully through his nose and smacking his lips in sleep beside his beauteous spouse. Ida diga scene ke mai money changer diga mitar suti zadareya palu ye nazanin khatum khawa khatishya da khana ye diga nisb shawazu. She lay awake, gazing with loathing at his overgrown belly rolling under the silk coverlet. William silk awar ke niye kawrezu ke baal ke mora suntam aya bazim and thinking of the passion-thrilled glances and irresistible mustache of the grandee. The shorty grandee, chief of police, ke dukan mein lao na shu. خیالاتای از وی که چی بروتاد رو بچه فهمی چی جذبات والا انتر خوب عاشقانه نظریه امروز بریز مسیل کرد. The bed chamber was hot and stuffy. علی bedroom گشته بخی تفت کرده. The shutters were fastened tight and lamp shed oily flakes of soot upon the tray. چی کار شده؟ کی از بس که تفت بود ای شتر متر بند بود نه می کلکین وغیره. از یک کام هم تر آیلی چیز منده بود oil lamp منده بود. Oh handsome camelback. نامزو گرندی camelback دیگه. از خود خوشتره. Oh handsome camelback. Thought the lady, how sweet is the embrace and how repulsive the impotent touch of this fat idiot. Moga. How sweet is thy embrace. कि मतलब बगल किसी के नहीं आते मुझे मज़ा नहीं दिया वही खगदमे ना इंजी किस्ते ये खरी की खावा. With sinful thoughts such as these, she fell asleep. يعني مثل تخيلاتي بقوارة يعني مثل دمي شورت خاورة. Having before her to the last the seductive vision of the magnificent black mustache and convinced that its lordly owner fully shared her amorous conceits and fancies. वो दही छोड़ता कि वो हम एकदम जी लाइन बराबर बात है दिगान कि आरती में बाजारती में तो भंडार का निकम. She was mistaken. मगर इश्तिबाह मगर. Quite other thoughts occupied the mind of the lord of her dreams at the late hour. आली बोरिन तरफी बेड चैम्बर निस्पशा वाली आली बोरिन तरफी खुदी ग्रैंडी की वो तो खुदाम ख्याल आता है. At the late hour, thoughts of personal advancement. कि माच तोर मतलब बाल बोरम, rank as much तोर बाल बोरस ग्रैंडियम का तो मैं बालता बोरम. Of new royal favors. कि the दरबार मां मसलन ची पेशरफ्ता करूं. And of the overthrow of his rivals. तोर मां हरीफारा खास करना. ये ग्रैंडी तो मिश नसीब नज़र. He was standing in the palace chamber before the bedside of his royal master. Palui Bastari Khan, giving him an account of the day's happening in a fawning manner. Such was the custom established by the Khan. One would think His Majesty had not time enough during the day, but that was not so. He was simply afraid to be left alone at night, as he had long been afflicted by asthmatic fits. Ali Khan's problem dara khawna mora. Asthmatic fit dara asthma nigrashira shawche. वो इन्हीं है कि ग्रांडी रज़ी खातिर निस्ब शाव खास्ता है कि वो रोज़ वक्त पैदा रहने की रिपोर्ट भी करना है. حاليا قام شاوتي متوم جبارم كسرم كذا بورو ما يقدر فارم حاليا باشا كي تنشنا كده ما بان داي بانشنا كاسنا باشا. He suffered cruelly from this ailment. As asthma problem, نفس वाला, سير كلام problem داشت. which never left him despite the court physicians. Who assured him to a man that it was weakening. Its whole day by day and would soon go altogether. The physicians had not lied to the Khan. They had merely withheld the circumstance that it would go together with his life. Propped high up on the pillows with the heavy quilt thrown back, the Khan was breathing painfully. Wheezily, his punny chest rising and falling under his fine silk nightshirt. Although the windows of the bedchamber were open and the perfuming vessels were not smoking, but still gasped for air. After the closing of the bazaar, when I had satisfied myself that the city was quiet, I repaired to the horse course in order to verify with my own eyes that everything was prepared for the coming races. You verified with your own eyes last year too. Your own eyes. The Khan interrupted. Yet one stallion stumbled and fell. Mind that there are no holes this time. This time I'm prepared to answer for it with my head. The grandee said with a bow, I trust that my tekins will suitably gladden the eye of my illustrious lord and sovereign. Your tekins have rivals, we hear. Some merchant, we forget his name, has bespoken horses from Arabia, for which he is said to have paid over 50,000. Have you seen those horses? I have, O sire. Yes, the grandee lied without turning a hair. The horses without a doubt are good. But they do not come up to my racers. I may add, the merchant boastfully exaggerated the price he paid. Those Arabs, according to the reliable information of my spies, cost him little more than 20,000 tangas. 20,000? What horses can they be at 20,000 a pair? Does he think to appear before our eyes upon the horse course with jades? The merchant is base-born. How should he know the rules of highest decorum? The grandee let fall insidiously. Having thus cast a slur upon the fat money changer, his race field rival, the grandee proceeded to do likewise with other rivals at court. He mentioned the treasurer, who, with suspicious prodigality, had recently given a feast for 80 guests. گفتی 80 نفر مهمو بوده یک چند روز پیش. صاحب شما خبر دارین؟ پرچیز مهمو بوده کی بوده اونا؟ یک مشکوک دونجی. The tax vizier and the chief eunuch, of whose excessive devotion to hashish he gently dropped a casual hint. कि चर्चा में चाहिए ये नफरी chief of eunuch कैसा और خلاصة आर नफर की तमने कोड बुत हरिफाइजी बुत तमाम वज़ीर एक हाँ नगोश खान एक पुफकत. Here the grandee paused, preparatory to dealing with the telling blow at his chief enemy. He had been premeditating that blow for a long time, thus nursing the thought like a careful gardener nurses a precious hothouse fruit. The grandee's enemy was the military leader Yadgorbek. Yadgorbek este was Katezu Fojiawad, called the intrepid captain of the Kokand horse, a gallant soldier covered with the scars of enemy, sabers and crowned with the glory of many victories. بسیار جنگارم برده، تمغارم برده، और بسیار زخمام به جنگا برده اونام درویشی معلومه. What more? Khan asked with a deep-sounding yawn. It was late, and he felt a heaviness in his swollen eyelids. Yet beneficent sleep would not come to him. الرحمة دي كسكي شاو هاو شباي ورحمة دي كده بليزو رحم شدا أقول خاو نرى يعني مين نما يدرو يخاو خوبم تر كتك تدرو بتكش ويخاو نمرة. The grandee arched his body and trembled from crown to heels. Here at last was the long cherished moment. There is a certain word of sorrowful truth in my mind, sire. بسير ببخشن قلتلي تيمك ما بقوم يبخلم كي نمخاو أنا مفهمة. Speak, بقي. I fear to burden the regal heart of my all-powerful sovereign. بسير بخشيش بريشم جران تمام نحن قبل كما زدرين. Speak. ترى بقينا. It concerns the military chief Yadgorbek. درباره امی سر لشکر است. یادگاربک درباره زیه میخواستم یک چیزی خدمت شما. Yadgorbek? Is he guilty of aught? What has he done? The grandee faltered, then manfully overcoming his emotions, uttered in a distinct, sonorous voice. اول کم در بجرگی کد باز خود کنترل کد گفتید ما باید کار انجام بدم. I have proved him guilty of adultery. یک است زناکاره. خاطر درا بازم می طرف چنگ میزنه. Adultery? Yadgorbek? The Khan exclaimed, utterly confounded. اصلا باورش نمیاد که سر لشکر زوی کنه زناکار برشده بچهش. You have gone mad. دیونه شده تو. We could believe anything but this. Yadgorbek, desiring not to marry in the lawful manner ordained by Allah. سمچاری خاتون ندیگه که مطابق شرعی و قانونی که رفته چنگا و گی نولیم شاوده اینی میزنم شاوده زویشی. We have conclusive evidence, having 6 years ago become a widower. 6 سال پیش که ما مطلب خاتو از دیس رفت. We know, ما خبرم. The said voluptuary Yadgorbek, desiring not to marry in the lawful manner ordained by Allah, سمشاري خاتونا نديگه کی د مطابق شرعي و قانوني کی رفته چنگا و گینو لیم شاودینی میزنم شاودزویشی. Did 2 years ago enter into criminal intercourse with a Persian woman by the name of Sharafat. نام از خاتم شرافت بوده قضیه تعلقات 2 سال پیش یک کیس اول بیان نبریزو. We know خان مغورو ما خبرو. The Khan interrupted him, but that woman is single. वो खुशी ना दरा स्टोरी रिलेटरी में क्यों रहा? रिलेटरी यही है कि तू हम married ही married है. बाद अर्दिश मुआज़ बने इस ring बुर मशीन व कार खत्म से वापस मुगिन we are married people. But that woman is single. Her husband departed to India 5 years ago with his caravan and perished during the journey. شو يزوق قدام الكاروان كسون هين كرفتات 5 سال پیش گم شدو پس ادامات. I beseech my sire to bend his illustrious ear to my further speech. After the proclamation of the Farman and 2 months have since elapsed, Yadgorbek did not break off his adulterous liaison with the said woman. Hence he is guilty and punishable under the law. درست है कि वो हम सिंगल मगरी फरमान किस्मों जारी के दिन साहिब दो माह मशा वज़ीद दो माह ये किस्ता एज मुंटिना कदा ताल्लुकात फरमूत जारी है. But wherefore did need that he break off relations with her when she is free? वो ची गाली चिकार करना वो खो शुई ना दराउज़ान. I tell you, the Khan cried, this time with a note of annoyance in his voice. How can the Farman be applied in this case? What is all this nonsense about adultery? Tu Farman as ma de cheez mo ki ye dastana ki aur de ye qad zina cheez kar dara. Kam khashab Leonid Khan. Daro na mufahama dastana daro. As the ruler of a large khanate. Mujhe ek khan rule manawar khanate magan. As the ruler of a large khanate, he was obliged, whether he wanted to or not, to enforce the existing laws if he was to preserve his kingdom against the arbitrary power of his officers of state. Allegri में खास कि क़वानीन बड़ी तमाम बिचला बायद ब हर कानून बायद हो बल्कि शामिल करना वगैरह बज़ीना इतराज़ के दो शुरू होना दमनी दरबार बज़ेक पढ़ना शुरू मुझे. My king asks, can the Farman be applied? Hissed the grandee, giving his moustache a ferocious twitch. But what if this woman is not free? And her marriage, which has not been legally dissolved, is still valid? marriage is legally married. What if her husband has not perished and is still alive? अगर हम जिंदा पुरुष बाज उशीशी आज हिंदुस्तान पासमात alive, where then has he been these 5 years? जिंदा है खुद गुजाबुदा ही 5 साल. He is alive and now a slave in Peshawar in India. कि पैसे तो गुलाम ही मर जासा गुफ्ते कानून जी बंदी है पैसे गुलाम गिरस्ता दे पेशावरी हिंदुस्तान. I have 2 men from Peshawar imprisoned in the dungeons. 2 नफर उनकी बंदी है. They were seized the year before last at the bazaar of sorcerers' designs upon our great Khan. Of course, they fully confessed their guilt after the second interrogation and were sentenced by me to imprisonment in the dungeon in accordance with the law. از خاطر وردامو بندخانه پشاور ریک دمی 2 نفر کی خلاف شما جادوگری مخواست کنه امور که ما بلش عملک دادیم اونا رو گرفتار کرده ریک دیم اونمونجی اولم دمار. Well then, these men only recently, a day or 2 ago, gave additional evidence to the effect that they had met the husband of this woman at the Peshawar bazaar. دمی 2 نفر تازه مار خبر کده که ایشو یزی خاطر مو دوازار پشاور دیده. In the grievous condition of a slave, thrice had he sent tidings to his wife, say the Khatun begging to be ransomed, but she responded not. Instigated hitherto, ما بعد از او که دیدم کی در جواب نمیده ما قسم خوردم by her adulterous lover یادگار beg that my sovereign is what the man from Peshawar testified at the interrogation, the two of them, and both in the same words. اردوش یک جمله مگه یک جمله اقرار کرده که مشروع زیاد دیده. Everyone testifies in the same words when you interrogate them. The Khan remarked with a grim smile. گفتن هر کس که تو اینتروگیشن کنی تمام شد یک سنتنس مگه توتیلی جواب میده. What will the populace think? مردم چی بگن؟ What will the soldiery say? سپاهیا چی بگه؟ If یادگار بیگ were seized on such a laughable pretext. خلقنده دنیا هم شونی بزی سپاهیا چی کار میشه لشکر از مخمیده میشه اعتبار از خلاص میشه. There is some trickery here. Meetings. مگه چال است اینجی. He was annoyed by the brazen effrontery of the grandee. کی بیخی بیبلغان تر درو کیس کو پیش برداری بیخی قارشم داری کی چرخ دلچسپی داری کیس. Who had prepared the sentence beforehand, irritated by that swaggering black moustache, besides his malady was making itself felt by a dull pain at the back of his head. The Khan's words, when next he spoke, therefore had a rasping, stinging quality in them. There is some trickery here, we say. The men from Peshawar were seized a year and a half ago, and they testify to having met the husband of this woman only now. Why did they not give this evidence till now? ये कुछ मिसाल पेश होना आज आवाल दस तक चर आली होना खबर करा हाँ They were stubborn in their denials and have not confessed till now. नहीं ना ये जसलन द चीज़ें ना बोल कबूल इतना दश्त ये कुछ मिसाल लगी था कि मार ज़बान इतना बरगदो खुट्टा पहले इतना बरगदो Stubborn in denial, the Khan said, the smile on his face growing grimmer. According to you, they confessed to sorcerous designs which threatened them with imprisonment after the second interrogation, but it took them a full year and a half to confess to having met the husband of this woman. A fact which threatened them with nothing, and that in your dungeons, in your hands. Rather strange, is it not? Huh? Chala ziyadaro mekhaya anchal kana. ये कदर मसाला उबान एज ना गुफ्ताली तू रिचन रोस्टअप कर दे वो एक सेंटेंस आर्डुश जवाब में तमगान मोदी दे. The grandee realized that he had chosen the wrong moment. Check the मुझे यार अब खालिम की टीम शनी है कबादरा उल्टा रही है. मादान कुर्बान भी रमज़न थे भी. The Khan was in a bad humor, mood खराबा, and used his sting indiscriminately upon the first person who chanced to be nearest. वारकस की नज़दीक तरीन बुद्ध अनमोर दरो डांग बिज़ादो. He should have kept away from the palace that night. Pleading indisposition and put someone else in his place to receive the royal sting. But it was too late now to mend his mistake. Men who huddle around the foot of thrones often make such blunders. When I give the body takhrana mara, हमेशा इनमें तर mistake आ मना है ना. द गलत जाए द गलत टाइम द गिरे ताप मुफ्त बस खूब ताप मखराऊंगी. He who catches the piece first is also the first to receive a slap in the face. Oh, sublime hub of the universe. مركز कायनात जोड़ कर दी जनाब रफ़ी. Oh, sublime hub of the universe. I have ere now observed Yadgar Beg's predilections for adultery, and if I have kept silent about it before my Khan, it was solely because I was concerned for His Majesty's precious health. ما دقام شما بودم ممزق هذا ريج وقت يدرويش منوردم كينيمي صار لشكرش من دقدام على ما فقط دخاتر الشمو دان خطام شاور بان قرتدم. Which might have been impaired by such grievous tidings. هذه الخبرات أمور شما في مشاريع بس ما مزوجت ميجي لقي. The grandee began shifting, shuffling, and groveling in the hope that he would still have his own way. باز در این طرف گئی چپ میزنه گئی راست میزنه که رای خلاصه بور کنه. But alas, this was an unlucky night for him. هرچی که میزنه و خان باز زیاد قاش بالنه. You observed ere now a predilection for adultery in Yadgar Beg. Huh? The Khan repeated. Where? The Gujadi de kina demzikar changawa. تعلقاتي غير شرعي رجتور to confirm sabitni. Happily in the tented field, شاید دمزی کو دشت مشت کو دیو منی خیمه نار گر کده تو, which you never shared with him, and with whom? Was it with his saber that he committed adultery? We have observed other things, though. We have observed such a predilection in others, in person who possess enough of both time and lustihood for it. Persons who, for the sake of their adulterous doings, grow magnificent mustaches and wear varnished boots on such high heels that they look like Chinese damsels in them. Alaykum assalam. تبلیزی اور گفتزی کارا چنگا اوناست که تایم بسیار زیاد داره اور شهوت بسیار بالا. امی بروتایش بسیار چنگا. بروتایش هم ممتر پالش کده اینا زیاد چه دیل چه adultery باشه. دکارای زینا مینا دلچسپی زیاد داره. That is where adultery should be sought. We are sure that such a search would not be a long one. اور بری پیدا کدو ازی زیاد دورم سر کدو نمیخواه. خان رو شارت میزه بلیزی. The ground rocked and floated away from under the grandee's feet. زمین بخی گوش دسته پای زیاده. Direct خان بلیزی attack نه. مگر کیر تو گیر کده ما تور گیر کدو. Was it just a guess? ایدر رو guess منا? Or had the Khan received information from somebody? حال دخوت مشکوک شده. که میدر رو guess منا خان یا یکو شنده خبر از یکو activity از من. Happily, he knew all, and even the name of Arzi Bibi was known to him. Arzi Bibi ram khabar dare qisse shmal da khoto chort mizna. Happily, he was just biding his time like a cat that had already laid its claws upon the mouse. All these thoughts rushed through the grandee's head like a violent Arabian whirlwind. The Sahara Arabic mo چرخک باد که نمایه اونمور کم درونه دی چرخک باده بچه فول گنگ سر فول حالش خرابه که نال اگر مر گیر کرد اگر ما خود من اینجا گرفتار شدم ما در اینجا میخواستم کسی دیگر گیر بیدم خود من گرفتارم. That overthrows palm trees in its progress. He thought no more of prosecuting his artful designs. بس توبه که گفت والا بخیلم که بند کنیم باکواس را این نمیچلیم شو. It would need all his skill now to escape from his own trap. He turned away from the lamps, sensing the telltale pallor of his face, and started to cough in order to clear the huskiness from his throat. He should have retreated with wit and cunning and not turned his open back to the Khan. باید کم استی تسلی خوب خان صاحب دیگه شما مارام کن ما با اجازه دیگه تو بخاطر باید ایتر مرف نه. But being by nature a coward, چون که والدی از درون خو یک بزدل بود, he took to his heel in a panic. گبراو شد فوراً چرخ خورد پشت سنخان که دبل از بنه درازه میخواست فرار کنه. As always, his most excellent majesty is right. مثل همیشه وری خان اعظم راست فرموده بالکل راست مگه. He exclaimed with exaggerated favor, by his divine wisdom my king has torn the veil from before my eyes. قضی حکمت آسمانی خو جناب خان اعظم کستا امی پرده را بخیز پیش چنو بارد. Now I see clearly that those miscreants from Peshawar have slandered the noble-hearted Yadgar Beg in order to belittle the glory of his martial deeds and thereby dim the luster of the Kokand Khanate. اینالی و دوی دیگر گیر کرد. گفتانو پدر نالتا بخالیم که دروغ امی چاله چلنده که یادگر بگ را بدنام کنه مرا مزدروغ گفته که یادگار بیگ انتکارا میکنه تاکه این لشکر ازی بدنام شنه از بعد پورا خان یعنی خانه چیزی کسته خراب شنه. So that was their perfidious purpose. من الفهمیدم مقصدی بد از چی بوده. It remains now to discover where lies the source of instigation, where lurks the treachery. Tomorrow I shall re-interrogate. Tomorrow I shall re-interrogate the miscreants from Peshawar myself. Peshawar Gustafar Masubad is now found said. The Khan listened in silence. The smile that played upon his thin lips was full of portent. What word did it conceal? What would its import be when it rolled off those lips at last? His reason confounded by fear, the grandee tried to defer that word by speaking without a stop and with ever increasing fervor. او خان میخوای که بگه یک چیز یه درون نمیله که نه اون گفته اگر شد بود دیگه حکم نه از دهن زبان خان برشده. Blessed is this night, oh sire. باز قصیدهش روش چیم شاوی نیک چین شاوی خوب است. He exclaimed, owing to the fathomless wisdom of our sovereign, treachery has been unmasked. از خاطر ازی فرزانگی خان اعظم این یک دنه سازش کستاد زیر نقاب مو پیدا کردی. Now my conscience is clear. این حال ما ضمیر مراحت شد. My reason elevated, my soul illuminated, and now I can withdraw. این حالی با اجازه ما بالکل مطمئن نمور من هذا خلاص شد السا. He bowed and salamed at each word. Backing towards the life-preserving door. دروازه حیات. سرمزی زود انت پسکی رہیه. سلام آداب. زود درگاه برساته. But the chamber being a spacious one, लेकिन ये بسیار कट्टा हाल है दिखा खान साहब खान ने. अर्ज की मोरे खलास इतना मुश्किल रही. He was given no time to make the last step across the threshold. He had his right foot over it, and was drawing up the left in a final salam. In another moment, he would be behind the door, saved. But it was here that the winged arrow of retribution overtook him. लेकिन इंतकाम का वो जो तीर था ना उसको उधर ही पकड़ लिया उसको आखिरी स्टेप पे wait सबर को said the Khan. Now in Albugi, come here. Come closer. With terror glazed eyes fixed unwaveringly upon the Khan's beckoning finger, the grandee retraced his faltering steps in silence as though he were being dragged forward by the neck on an invisible noose. Every step of that backward journey from the door to the Khan was accomplished at the cost of the most acute inward agony. Where are those Peshawar men of yours? Demanded the Khan. Leon. They are in the dungeon, sire, the Bandikhana. We desire to interrogate them ourselves. The light became darkness before the grandee's eyes. And his head reeled. His tongue, however, did what it had to, independent of his reason. They will be brought to the palace in the morning. Not in the morning. Now. Said the Khan, we shall not fall asleep in any case. So cause them to be brought hither. Pas fauran bayroin arrange. They are not prepared for the palace, sahib. Wana hal jib sir kharaba kam shutsoy mein khaya sir ganda maila hai. Your Majesty, the grandee stammered, they are in rags. They are hairy and unkempt, dirty. No matter. Khaira. If need be, the barber can be wakened. Ona hajam rabidar ne ki fauran muyazna jor kana ghusl musl bhi tayar kada darbar hazir kana. Bana nahi hai khalasa. They offend the nostrils most abominably. Sahib qabit bui chang dara ki bekhi bui bini adam ra bekhi parana maghz adam ra parana. Ikhtabat bui ana. We shall keep them aloof by the open window. Khair pesh ki kinesta ko. Yani nagir, bache shuma kisi grandi nagir hai. Yana Nagir Khan. And I shall question them in fullest details respecting the husband of this woman. How he came to be in Peshawar and who made a slave of him. Kamil dastan is ushuiz khatur ma mekhaim. Ki waqt daro zeri ilzam diga mulzima yani khatu am wa kamil bagi sar lashkar. Also respecting the sorceries for which they had been seized, if we remember right, you then received for your zeal 10,000 pieces of silver. 10,000 pieces of silver am girfta diya naam khod to yata sta, or it was 15. Chan bud, 18 bud, 15 bud bakhane ki da bud. They will tell me everything. Yardu shawri ko tamam ma khabar dara na. Tamam gabri guft. You shall withdraw, of course, in order that they may be able to, the freer to speak and we the better to listen and comprehend. Ho! There! Guards! وخود تم تشریف نداشته باشی چون که ما میخوام تسلی اونان تسلی گب بگه من بیشنوم. Guards equipment. He struck a brass disc hanging from one of the lamps with a little hammer. Pring! Khadima baya. The chief officer of the palace guard appeared. Mafiza am kalan chama. You shall remain here for the time being. Amijibash. The Khan said to the grandee. To Amijibash. And you take 4 men of the palace guard and go with them to the prison where 2 men from. But at that moment, an asthmatic fit seized him by the throat. With his bony hand and stuffed, shredded horse hair down it, as it were, the Khan swayed and gasped and went livid. A dry, racking cough shook and convulsed his punny body. His eyes goggled, his tongue lolled. The night physician came running in with bowls and towels and ewers. Pandemonium broke loose. یک دفعه باز تمامی محل باز زلم نبی که خان باز نفش بنجده. ये किस्सा मान देने में जी ایبرو امر میکرد که برو در پیشاد فلانه بندیخانه نفریای امیر میخواست بگه که یه بعد سلفا گرفت و نفس تنگی گرفت. یعنی نفس تنگی ما بخلیم کن نفس رو همیش بگیری لازم. پاس کنید در پیج نمبر 117. باقی داستان چی؟ next one. اینجی اصلا داستان بود دگیردی گرندی که میخواست خوب چل بچلنه که او چل کرده ولی خود چرا این دغول داستانی تمام دروغا رو گفته این اون زید کرده که بیرو تو بشه ویلی اینجی که تو که اونا خبر شده ای قدر و تو کنفرم میخوای یادگار بگه اینجا پساو کنی مورم بیرو یادگار بگرم بیروی ارزی بیبیرم بیرو کی بیبی چیز میخواه